kings and queens. Welcome back to another episode of Faith Helps Podcast. And today is a little bit of story time. So yesterday was a rough day for me. I actually was going to share this story yesterday, but got home and like a bunch of stuff was just already waiting for me to attend to. But I wanted to share this because I feel like it's going to benefit somebody one day. It might even benefit me again one day. So I'm driving home last night after work, and I was actually listening to a podcast. E.T., the hip hop preacher. It was a podcast they did from like 4 or 5 years ago. And in the podcast, they were talking about networking and teamwork and supporting each other in their journey as a unit, as a group, right? And as I'm sitting there thinking about it, it dawns on me that I don't have a team. I have a lot of people who support me and cheer me on. I have a lot of cheerleaders, but it dawned on me that I don't have a team. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I want you to see, I want you to increase your awareness of how strategic the enemy can be sometimes. And like even using your own thoughts against you. So as I'm driving, I'm having this like kind of epiphany. And yes, things have been hard, but it never like really bothered me. I'm sitting there and I start thinking like, man, it really is just me doing it. Like I do my editing, I do my recording, I buy the materials, I do all of the flyers, I'm running the nonprofit, I'm doing all of the things. And the moment I realized that, I felt the weight of what I do. And I felt the exhaustion from it. And it's crazy because as I'm driving, it almost seems like, yes, it was at night, but it almost seemed like the road got even darker. Like it kind of got this my vision kind of like turned into this tunnel vision. And all I see is my lane, and the cars are starting to fade out. And I'm just driving, and it feels like it's like closing in on me and getting darker. A lot of people describe anxiety in a similar way, or a panic attack, like same like features and stuff. For me, that's not what that was, but I feel like the isolation that's just setting in of like, you are alone. Those are the words that was coming. You are on your own. How are you going to do this? And I'm just saying the things that were coming to my mind in that moment. How are you going to do this? You don't have enough skill set. You're not capable. You're not this. You're not that. No one's on your side. How are you even going to find people who you can trust? And da 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 da. And I realized as I'm sitting there thinking like, dang, the enemy is really threatened by me, because he wouldn't attack my mind so much with insecurities or with doubt and with fear if it wasn't for the fact that I am holding on to a promise and I am carrying something that this world needs and that God has gifted me for. And sometimes we can, excuse me for my phone, sometimes we can allow the distractions of this world to, the distractions of this world and opinions of others and our own insecurities derail us from the path that God is calling us to, or stop us. It could be really easy for me to say, you know what, that's right, I don't have a team. I'm gonna wait till I get the team. Okay, life and time still moves on regardless. And so as I'm seeing that, because I've grown to a spiritual level where I notice the enemy's attacks quicker, and I notice even when my own flesh is rising up, whether it be through insecurity, fear, doubt, shame, guilt, whatever it might be, I'm able to address it quicker. The moment I started noticing like, oh, I'm feeling really isolated, I'm feeling really alone, it was that switch of, but I'm not alone. And this is why it's so important to have your why in mind and to have those go-to like scriptures. No, I do not know every scripture in the Bible. I don't expect anyone to. No, I can't always tell you the exact address of a verse that comes to mind, but I know them in my heart, and I know the promises and the truths of God. When you know God's character through his word, you're able to lean on that, and you're able to use that as confirmation, validation, and reassurance in those difficult times. And so for me, it was, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And that was kind of that pull that allowed me to pull myself out of this like funnel vision of, oh my gosh, I'm alone in isolation. And I think it's also important to notice when that's coming up, because it also reveals to us what we need to work on ourselves. Sometimes we think that when we're feeling up and we're feeling high and we're feeling great and things are going well, that we don't need to continue to work on ourselves. We still need to work on ourselves. We still need to make sure we're doing the things to take care of our mental and emotional and psychological health. We still need to do the things to make sure that we are attending to our growth in all aspects, not just the spiritual growth, but your personal development and building on. If there's something that you're insecure about, build on that. If you're insecure about speaking eloquently, work on that. I said this a while back, that if there's something that you feel like you're not good at, get better at it. Don't just sit and wallow at, oh, I'm not good at doing that, or oh, I don't know how to do that. Figure it out. There's too many resources available to us nowadays to just give up. There's always an answer. There's always a way. There's always an opportunity. God gives a window, a door every single time you are faced with a challenge. And sometimes you can just open the door. Sometimes you got to push on that door a little bit. Sometimes there's a window, but you got to create the ladder with the resources he's already given you in order to make it into that next level, or make it into that next room that he's already put your name in and wrote blessings with your name on it all around. But sometimes if we're not being sensitive to the spiritual realm and being more in tune with ourselves and our mindset and the quality of our thoughts, and we're not just brushing everything off of, oh, that's just a thought. Take that thought captive. If it's a negative thought, if it's an unfruitful thought, take it captive and speak against it. Speak life over yourself. If you're noticing that you're having a lot of thoughts of you're insufficient, you can't do this, or you don't have enough of that, you don't have enough of this, attack that. God says that he will give you all that you need. And so sometimes we get trapped in just looking at the thought and taking it on as fact instead of challenging it. And so my encouragement through sharing this story is for you to challenge the thought. If there is an insecurity, if there is anxiety, depression, fear, whatever it might be that's coming up for you, challenge it. Take it on and address it. Find the evidence against it. This is something I do in therapy with clients a lot who experience intrusive thoughts or anxious thoughts. We write down what that thought is. This is something practical that you can do today or the next time you're experiencing a thought that's unfruitful. You write down the thought and you write, what is the evidence for? What is the evidence against that thought? And as you're looking at it, examining how true are each of those statements that you wrote out. And are those statements that you wrote out, the evidence for and the evidence against, are those facts or are those feelings? Because sometimes we don't write it out and we don't disconnect from a thought. We take everything as a fact, and some of it is just feelings. You can feel as though you're not a good speaker, but you actually are a wonderful speaker. I have a colleague who was saying that she feels as though she rambles a lot, and every one of us in the room was like, we don't see that. We actually feel that you're very concise when you speak, and you tend to be very to the point, and you speak in a way that gets the message across clearly with some what's the word I want? you add a little pizzazz. That's not the word that we use, but you add a little pizzazz, like a little flavor to it, and you deliver it so like beautifully in a way that everyone's able to understand what you said. You communicated it, and it also captured our attention. And that wasn't something that she saw in herself. And so sometimes, that's just an example of how sometimes our insecurities can tell us lies that allow us to believe a false belief about ourselves that's not true. And then we start walking that out as if it is true. And that's not even the case. So be curious about what's coming up in your mind. Be curious about what you're thinking. Be slow to believe every single thought that rises up. Examine it. Be sensitive to what is coming to your mind, and challenge the thoughts that are negative and unfruitful. If they're not helping you grow or become a better person, why is it there? So challenge it. Not only that, but make sure you're taking the time, whether you are feeling great about yourself or not so great about yourself, make sure that you are setting aside time, if not daily, at least weekly, 5-10 minutes to rehearse positive statements and affirmations about yourself and about your situations. Sometimes when we are constantly speaking about a situation that we're encountering or circumstance that we're encountering, we keep speaking negativity about it, and then that just feeds that negative thought, and it kills motivation, and it kills the ability, our capacity to have an impact. So when you're noticing that you're talking about a situation of, this is so hard, this is so difficult, this is so confusing, you're already defeating yourself. You're already making that situation bigger than the God that purposed you to overcome that situation. So it's up to you to say, actually, no, I can accomplish this. I was given the tools to do that. I can overcome this. This situation will not defeat me. I will defeat it, because I am an overcomer. I am a conqueror. Greater is he that is within me than he that is in the world. You have to start speaking those things over you and your situation. Okay? That's all I'm saying today. Have a good week. I love you guys. Peace.